What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin Svenson, and today we're going to be talking about the price of Bitcoin. The Bitcoin halving of 2020 took place a few days ago, and Bitcoin has been performing very well since. There's some really key things happening with the Bitcoin price right now, and you're not going to want to miss this video. And before we get into the analysis, let's try to get 1,000 likes on this video. I'm looking at the CryptoWatch asset card list, and we can see that Bitcoin is currently down 1.58% in the past 24 hours, trading just around 9,570. Generally just a lot of sideways action over the past 24 hours, and most of the top cryptos are following Bitcoin. Now, I'm looking at the weekly chart for Bitcoin, and this is a super critical moment for the price of Bitcoin. We are currently trading just above the 2-year-long downward sloping resistance. The most consistent area for resistance along this downward sloping resistance trend is the area that I've marked up. We have a couple wicks from the 14K run. The next resistance comes in at 10,500, and after that, we have the resistance coming in here at 9,500, and we are actually getting above this right now. So the price of Bitcoin is above that previous resistance at 9,500, which means that we are getting above the 2-year-long downward sloping resistance line. If this weekly candle can close above the downward sloping resistance line, this would be a macro bullish signal. This could mean that Bitcoin is looking to test even higher. And what this would ultimately mean for Bitcoin is that we are exiting the 2-year-long downtrend. If we can get a break above this resistance and create support along the previous 2-year-long downward sloping resistance and create some higher lows above this resistance, this could be an indication that Bitcoin is actually ready to enter a bull market. And what we've discussed in a lot of my videos recently, and something you may have noticed already, is that after the halving takes place, the past 2 halvings, Bitcoin enters a long-term bull market. And we just had the 3rd halving in Bitcoin history. And right now we are getting signs on the chart that Bitcoin may be exiting this 2-year downtrend, looking to enter possibly a bull market. So what we need to see for the price of Bitcoin right now is we need to see this weekly candle close above this 2-year-long downward sloping resistance. And this could mean that we are potentially looking for a continued uptrend. Of course, if we do something like this, the next major resistance is going to be the $10,500 supply line from the previous run in February. It's quite possible that we may find some rejection at the $10,500 level if we can get up there in the medium term. But ultimately what I'm looking for, even if we do find some rejection along 10,500, ultimately what I'm looking for is for the price to remain above this downward sloping resistance trend. Because what this would ultimately mean if Bitcoin can remain above this level is that we are shifting out of this 2-year-long downward sloping trend. We would be getting a major pivot and a major shift into what could be the next bull market for Bitcoin. So what you'll notice on the daily chart is that Bitcoin is beginning to remain above this upward sloping trend line. The trend is up, guys. We are seeing higher lows, continuous higher lows on the daily chart, and we are generally now creating and holding within an upward sloping price channel. We can see consistent support along this trend line, consistent resistance along this supply line, and Bitcoin is now finally getting above this major downward sloping resistance trend. What we can see is that the market is seeing a little bit of indecision here. We're getting some chop above and below, above again. So we can see that the market is seeing some reaction to this resistance. But what I find very interesting is if you drop down to the 4-hour chart, this line that you see coming across the screen right here is that major 2-year-long downward sloping resistance. What we can see is we found resistance at 9,500 back on April 30th, traded sideways, broke above it, tested back below it along the upward sloping trend line that we just watched on the daily chart. And now, guys, we actually broke back above the 2-year-long downward sloping resistance. But the price action yesterday brought us down to the previous downward sloping resistance, and we actually created support along the 2-year-long downward sloping resistance. So overall, we are maintaining good bullish structure. We're above a major resistance. Now, the next major test is, of course, 10,500. If we break back below this previous resistance and we can't hold above the 2-year-long downward sloping resistance, then we could be looking to test the upward sloping support again. And if we can't hold that, then I would say it's possible that we'd be looking to test as low as 7,700 on that next major downside target. 7,700 is coming in around this previous support resistance zone. So I think 7,700 would be that next major downside target. Ultimately, even if we did get this type of a bear scenario, let's say the stock market reverses, Bitcoin dumps a little bit, we see a little bit of uncertainty, even in that scenario, this would technically still be overall a higher low on the chart from a larger scale picture. And we would still be above the 2019 major support low at 64.30. Things would potentially be looking a little bit more bearish at this point, but it wouldn't really spook me too much. I actually think that this is less likely right now. I mean, we're still remaining within this nice uptrend that we've seen. We're getting above this downward sloping resistance. We just had on the daily candle, we just got a wick off of this. We got some support, bought right back up off that previous resistance. Now support. Great progress for the bulls. And one thing we discussed recently is the MACD on the weekly chart is getting this bullish crossover. We are building some positive momentum right now, and we could see some continuation to the upside on the weekly chart. Also, guys, the RSI on the weekly chart is showing that Bitcoin is not yet overbought. This means that Bitcoin still also has room to move to the upside. We're getting some momentum right now. Bitcoin could still have a lot of room to move up to re-enter overbought territory and see a nice continued move to the upside. So overall, guys, there's a lot of things leading me to stay bullish on Bitcoin. There's nothing telling me that this run has to stop, right? So I'm remaining bullish on Bitcoin. And as long as we're remaining above this previous downward sloping resistance as new support, I would say this is the accumulation range that you're looking for to be getting into the market before the major break of that previous macro high at 10,500. And once you get that macro higher high, things will ultimately get very bullish for Bitcoin most likely. So I think this range right now is a great range to be accumulating. But of course, this is not financial advice. This is just my opinion. And you got to be ready for volatility, guys. This is Bitcoin, right? You got to be ready for the huge swings to the upside, huge swings to the downside. And you just got to understand that that is the nature of Bitcoin. And you got to be comfortable with that. And again, the people that made the most money on this last bull run were the people that understood the nature of Bitcoin, that it is extremely volatile, right? I mean, just looking back in history, you see these huge downswings, 37% to the downside or more, almost 40% to the downside or more. What is this? Almost the same, almost 40% to the downside. The next one, guys, almost, 35% to the downside. The next parabolic advance, down another 40%. The next parabolic advance and down another 40%. We actually touched the 618 golden retrace on a lot of these moves. Keep that in mind as well for the next potential bull market. But guys, you got to be ready for these things. If you were able to stomach these moves, you ended up making a lot more money, right? This is the nature of Bitcoin. So keep all that in mind for the future. I'm talking long term here, right? You got to be able to stomach potential moves, potential swings to the downside, large percentage swings to the downside, guys. So keep all that in mind. That's going to be it for today's video. But before you go, hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to get involved in the community a little bit more, join the Discord channel. I chat in there all the time. You can get a hold of me pretty easily in the Discord channel. Also, follow me on Twitter. And last but not least, guys, listen up. My preferred platform for charting and trading is CryptoWatch. I love this platform for many reasons. It's a good natural fit for me. I've been using it for years. I can do everything I need to do from this platform. Check this out. I hit my account, go to Exchange Keys. We can see that I'm connected on Coinbase and Kraken with my exchange API keys. So I can trade on these exchanges right now. If I go back to the homepage and I just click Ethereum, and let's say I want to trade, I want to take some profit on Ethereum, which I'm not going to do. This is just an example. And I scroll down to Kraken. Let's say I want to trade on Kraken. If I want to trade, I can just hit this right tab right here, and it opens up the trading portal. So I can begin to actually just trade directly off of my price charts, guys, right? And now you see this, I can just trade right off of the chart. It's connected to my Kraken account, and I can do everything I need to do on Kraken, on Coinbase, everything I need to do all from one place. Click that link below and check it out. And I will see you guys in the next video.